Yeah, it's one heart, one shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the
All right, we are live. What's up, y'all? How you guys doing? Hope you're having an absolutely amazing Thursday evening as we record this. For those of y'all that are new to this group, we are pre-PT Grind, I guess. Our names are Casey and Joseph. Not Casey and JoJo, but we are both physical therapists. We are also PT school acceptance coaches, and our job is to help y'all get into physical therapy school. That is what we do. That is why we're here. And so if you're here listening to this right now, whether live or on replay or as a podcast episode and whatnot, you're in the right place if you're a pre-PT. And if you've been struggling with doubt and overwhelm and all the things that we all experience as pre-PTs, you are also in the right place. So before we get started, Casey, I'm just going to double check and make sure that the live stream is actually working perfect. For those of y'all that are live, feel free to say hello in the chat. Say what's up so that we can shout y'all out. But for those of y'all watching on replay, great to have you guys here as well. So here's what we do. Every single Thursday night, we come into this group and we do a live stream at around 9 p.m. Eastern time, if technology works in our favor. And the reason why we do this and the reason why we even do this live is because we want to have conversations with you guys. Like, as you're all going through your journeys as pre-PTs, like there are genuine questions and frustrating moments that we all experience. We were once pre-PTs, and so we felt a lot of them. And so that's why we want to do this, not pre-recorded, just very much relational. And so we always want to talk about things that are relevant. And tonight we are talking about burnout as a pre-PT, burnout as a future physical therapist. So who do we have live right now? We have Janet, we have Geraldine, we have Nikki. Great to have y'all here. We have Juan. Great to have you guys here. Y'all say hello in the chat if you guys are here live. But what I want to know is this real quick. How many of you have experienced burnout? So say me in the chat if you have experienced some form of burnout. Maybe you guys need to know what burnout is. So I actually pulled out a definition because some of y'all are like, I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what we're dealing with. So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Is that sounding pretty familiar, right? It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. So if you guys have felt that as students, as pre-PTs, maybe it's with everything you guys are trying to do right now. So some of you are, many of our students, Casey knows this, like many of our students in our program, especially our non-traditional students, they have families. So we have students that are moms or dads, they have kids, they have a full-time job because they got to make sure that the family's eating. They're also retaking a full load of classes and also trying to get observation hours and trying to study for the GRE at the same time and trying to figure out how to build relationships with the right schools. And so there's a certain point where it just becomes like, man, like how am I going to keep up, right? And why this is also key is because at the same length, like this is also what I call the silent career killer. Because let me ask you guys this, and this is like something that I was actually having a conversation about with another physical therapist. Like, how many of y'all have actually seen a PT that has been in say 5 years? If you guys have ever shadowed or seen a physical therapist that has been a PT for 5 years, say 5 in the comments. 5 for y'all that are live. Just comment 5 if you've ever talked to, seen, heard from, watched a video from a PT that has been a PT for 5 years. I just want to know. I'm going to keep going up, right? So 5 years. So I've seen quite a few that are 5 years in. What about 10 years? Have y'all seen PTs that have been physical therapists for 10 years? Have y'all seen PTs that have been physical therapists for 15 years? 20 years, 30 years. Y'all, the truth is that as time goes on, there's something about this conversation of burnout that's actually leading people to not have as long of a career in healthcare. It's not just PT, it's in healthcare as well. Like literally, like Casey, how many like 30-year PTs do you see these days?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Not and a lot of them, it's because of this burnout conversation. So let's start having it now. So that for those of y'all that are struggling, I see a lot of me's going through it right now, Juan says. Okay, so for those of y'all that are experiencing right now, like let's talk about it. Like, what does it look like? Does everyone experience it the same way? No. But for those of y'all that are experiencing it a lot more, let's actually deal with it. Because the thing is, if we're not proactive about it, if we don't know how to recognize it, if we don't know how to deal with it, then what happens is we actually start to self-sabotage. We start getting in our own ways. We start really holding ourselves back from being our best selves as pre-PTs. So Casey, let's start with you, brother. Like, now that you've heard the definition of burnout according to how we're communicating it tonight, man, what are your thoughts on burnout as a whole? Talk about it from the perspective of maybe what you've seen in students, what you've seen in people around you, like how you've seen it affect them, and ways that you would, really even start recommending students to start saying, hey, like, this is how I can start taking control of some of those things. So what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna defer to you to go first tonight. Then I'll tag on at the end with some notes I took about later on in the career and stuff like that. But go for it. Kick us off.
I love it. I love it. So let me start off with this. So I've actually experienced burnout quite a bit. Not as much anymore. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, I've been able to address and apply. But I felt burnt out many times as a student. I definitely felt it during my first year and a half as a physical therapist, to the point where I think it was at the end of 2018. My like everything just kind of started to shut down. Like physically, I started feeling like I could not function in the clinic. I actually remember one Friday. This is early December 2018. One Friday, I was in the clinic. And around 11:30 a.m., right before lunchtime, I told one of the other therapists, I was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to last the afternoon. I need to figure out a way to get home. And I was the clinic director, so I had a little bit more leeway to kind of, make some of those changes. But my body felt like it was shutting down. And so what I did is I actually did not even drive myself home. I got an Uber because it was pre-COVID, got myself all the way to my apartment. At the time, made it in, and literally right past the door, just dropped. And all I remember from that time, and my wife can even tell y'all, all I remember from that time was it was probably maybe 6 or 7 hours time. And then literally several hours later, at that time, wow, was she my fiance? Yeah, at that time, my fiance and now wife, right? Came back from work. She's a school psychologist. She found me in my apartment, still in the same position. I hadn't taken off my shoes. I hadn't taken off anything. And the reason for that was because it had just built up over time. I had just overwhelmed myself over time. I did not have enough output. No, sorry, I did not have enough input for what I was putting out. At that time, I was super tired because I was working a full-time shift, 40 hours, really more like 50 hours. I was leading a team, trying to learn how to be a leader as a new grad PT. I was new out of school, trying to figure that part out. I get anxious as well. It's, I've had anxiety. I've talked about anxiety before. So that's something I'm very comfortable talking about. So it was all these things building up. And at the same time, Casey and I were also building pre-PT grind. So it was literally, I was working all day, waking up super early in the morning, working all day, output. Casey and Joseph do pre-PT grind at night. And then after that, continue doing stuff for patients to prepare for the next day, to the point where sometimes I would actually sleep at the clinic. I would knock out at the clinic, wake up at about 3 or 4 a.m., drive to my apartment, take a shower, come back. And y'all, that was not healthy. And the thing is, it got me to a point where I was like, why is this happening? Why is this not happening to every other person around me? Not most PTs have a full-time PT job. Casey right now has a full-time physical therapist job. And so that's when I realized that I was not protecting a few different things. And this is what leads to burnout. Burnout is not something that you have to experience, but many of us do get kind of struck by it a little bit more than others, right? But there's a few things that you should be aware of prior to getting to that point. And as a pre-PT, I can tell you all this, when I was burnt out, the moments that I've been burnt out, I have not been able to be at my best. The moments that I've been burnt out, I haven't been able to give at my best. The moments I've been burnt out, I have not been able to focus in the way that I need to focus, right? So as a student, how does it affect you, right? Like when you're super, super burnt out and you feel like, man, like I'm running on fumes, that affects your ability to focus on studying for the GRE, your ability to retake classes and actually do like well on them, your ability to be at your best at your job or your rotations, right? Like your observation hours, your ability to be present for your family. Y'all, it affects your ability to perform at your best in general, right? So how many of you say I recognize it if in telling that story you were able to kind of see yourself in there somewhere? Maybe you've gotten to an extreme version of that like myself. Maybe you've kind of felt it a few times. Maybe for you it's some days that just feel a little bit more like draining than usual. Maybe for you it's some weeks where you just feel like, man, like I got nothing. Like I don't even know how to function properly. I'm barely making it work. Like let me know in the comments if that has been you at some point. I just want to know if it's just me or if I'm in good company. Because I can tell you this, as pre-PTs, we have to start like talking about this for those of us that struggle with it. So here's a few things or a few guidelines for how to deal with it, right? So Janet says, I recognize it. Okay, perfect. So I'm not alone, right? So here's a few guidelines. So first of all, when we're feeling this way, the first thing that I'll tell y'all is we have to be very proactive about it rather than reactive. One of the mistakes that I made was I just kind of reacted to things. I was like, hey, I just, because at that point, I was so focused on the things that had to get done. Like I had to do what I had to do in the clinic. Pre-PT grind was actually more of an outlet. Like I loved and I still love literally what we do with pre-PT grind. But at the end of the day, like I was not proactive about being able to recognize certain signs that were kind of like indicators, right? Like almost like a car telling you, hey, light here, light here, light here, light here. I would ignore all of the indicators and basically got myself to the point where like my system shut down, right? And maybe for you, you're still at the stage where you have all the indicators. Maybe you haven't fully shut down. Maybe you've already shut down. Maybe it's affected your health or whatnot, right? But step one is be aware of what leads you to burnout. Like right now, for those of y'all that experience this, like be very aware of what actually leads you to burnout. Like, what is it? Like, what are the things that, like if you look back at the moments where you felt burnt out, maybe it's right now, as you're listening to this right now, you're like, yeah, that's my current reality. Okay, cool. Like if that's your current reality, what are the things that have built up to where you are right now? Like be aware of them. Like I knew what mine were. like I knew I couldn't quit my job. Like I knew I wasn't gonna leave pre-PT grind, but I knew that there were certain things that led to that. So one of mine was the fact that like I did not give myself enough time to actually recharge or reset. I didn't give myself the ability to have something else that I was constantly using to basically have more input, right? Because if I feel like I'm always like giving like my energy, my time, my focus, my everything, like I get drained and it's like a cup, right? If I'm not refilling that cup, then I have nothing to pour with. And when I have nothing to pour out, that's that moment of feeling burnt out. The next thing is the next thing I would say is be intentional about protecting your time and your energy, like I was just saying, but your time, protecting your time. I had to start asking myself, in the moments that I had free time, how was I using it? So one thing that I have always done, and my wife will tell you this, like one of the things that I have used ever since I was in college to kind of escape, like if I'm really overwhelmed, is TV shows or movies, right? So a mistake that I made was I was actually using my escape as my reset, when in reality it wasn't doing that, right? Y'all, I can name off all the TV shows I like. I can name off all the movies I like. You best believe. But some of us are not protecting the time that we have in between, that free time. So when I finished treating in the clinic and I was like eating my supper, I'd be watching a TV show. You know, I need something to just help me forget what's going on right now. I need something. Okay, cool. But what was happening is it wasn't actually refilling me, right? So I had to shift that. Like, what are things that actually refill me, right? Self-care, making time for it. Like if we're not having self-care, then we burn out. You might be telling me, Joseph, but I'm too busy. Well, so was I. right? But what I started doing is I said, okay, how can I move things in my day to actually give me moments to reset? So what I did is I was like, okay, cool. So I work up until 12 p.m., right? And I love being a PT, y'all. Like, so, but at the end of the day, whether you love something or not doesn't matter. If you're outputting all the time and you don't have something else coming back in, it doesn't take rocket science to figure that equation out. So what I did is during my lunchtime, I would actually eat lunch for 15 minutes because it was like salad or something with chicken or whatever, right? And then the last 45 minutes of my lunch break, I would just go on a walk because I knew movement actually filled me up, right? And I wouldn't listen to anything. I wouldn't listen to music. I just go on a nice little walk. We were by a body of water at that clinic that I was at the time, and it was amazing. By the time I came to the clinic, I actually felt like I had more energy because I had given my mind the ability to calm down. I'd given my body something that physically gave it a reset, a reboot, right? But if you don't have anything that gives you self-care, so instead of always relying on TV shows, I now started saying, hey, like, what do I know works for me? Like, for me, it's podcasts. I love audiobooks. Like right now I have a pretty cool book that I'm reading that I might talk about in the later live stream. But I love audiobooks, like podcasts, like personal development, things that just fill me. Because those are the things that you can fit. You can fit those when you're driving. You can fit those when you're walking. You can fit those while you're working out. But am I structuring my life to actually like provide time to care for me? Am I protecting my time? Am I giving it to people that are draining me? Am I around people that are overwhelming me more? Am I talking to people about my certain frustrations that are actually like depleting me more? Right? You have to start protecting that. And then the last thing is habits that allow you to keep those things constant. So when I have things that protect my energy, my time, my focus, all those things, like I have to turn those into habits. Because if you have to try to like shift every single day to remaneuver that, it becomes very, very difficult, right? And you're naturally going to go back to the same things that led you to burnout in the first place. So turn it into habits. Figure out, like, do I wake up a little bit earlier in the day to maybe do a little walk, to maybe do some yoga, to stretch, to listen to some music, to do some personal development, whatever works for you. Just know yourself, right? But can I turn it into a habit? Can I turn my boundaries into habits? Can I turn my time protection into a habit so that slowly but surely, regardless of whether you're a pre-PT, when you're a physical therapist, you're in a position where you actually feel like you're no longer burning out. Y'all, like, I really don't feel burnout much anymore. I don't remember the last time I really felt burnt out. I mean, I have moments where I'm just like, I have more to do, but not really much anymore because I've started to respect those things. But I'm telling y'all, like, it got to a point where it was kind of scary health wise. And for some of y'all, you've probably already gotten there. Some of y'all, you're on your way to getting there. But remember, your body is a machine. You have to care for it. You have to protect it. And even if you're overwhelmed and doing all these different things, yourself and your care, like, that has to be prioritized, because if it's not, things do fall apart. So y'all, this is the silent career killer, because if you're taking these habits into being a physical therapist, into all these other stages of life, it's going to be very difficult to really stay at your best and to love what you do. So Casey, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got a follow-up question because some thoughts came to my head when you were talking. Because as pre-PTs, and when I think back to when I was a pre-PT, I'm like, okay, what are the indicators I should look for? One, to know if I'm burnt out, because then I can use that to say, how do I know if I'm burnt out or on the way to being burnt out versus am I not pushing hard enough? Because as we know, everybody here knows as pre-PTs, we got to push to get where we need to go in PT school. We got to do the same thing, and same thing in our career. So what are indicators that pre-PTs can/should look for? And how do we know as pre-PTs, like, am I just being lazy, or am I just not pushing hard enough? Or like, am I on the brink of being burnt out to where I cannot push how I need to get to where I need to go? Those are some questions that I would have had as a pre-PT.
That's a really good question. So those indicators can be different. Unusual fatigue is definitely one of them. And I want to be careful with that because you're going to be tired of the student. Like my wife and I were joking about this earlier today, and we were remembering some all-nighters we were pulling, crazy stuff in grad school. Man, PT school is wild, right? And that kind of comes with the territory, but I'm talking about prolonged. Like I always feel insanely fatigued and drained. Like this is not just a, yo, this is finals week, I gotta go all. I mean, we've all been there and we all will be there, right? But this is prolonged, like all the time for weeks on end. I just feel drained and exhausted. Like I'm trying and I'm pushing, right? That's how you know you're not lazy. Because if you're lazy, you're basically just kind of like, all right, whatever. I don't feel like it. Okay, that might be you being lazy, right? But it might also be you saying, hey, something is off, and you're responding with just doing nothing about it. So there's, that's the part that can kind of vary. Just be self-aware. But prolonged fatigue is a big one. Lack of focus. So I don't have a lot of focus. I'm usually pretty distractible, unusually, right? Now if you're distractible because of something else, and like I said, like all these things could be symptoms of other diagnoses as well. So I'm not saying that it's exclusive to that, but if you're healthy, right? If everything else is good and these are things that are happening, those are signs. Sometimes it can push to, like, think of how you feel when you haven't slept in a long time. What are some of those signs? You're super irritable, you're like all those things that you experience in that state of mind. Those are the things that you also experience when you are extremely burnt out. And your patience level goes down, all those different things. And so something, like, basically you need something to reset you. It might be sleep, it might be like all the things that I discussed tonight, but those are some of the basic general indicators, and I'm sure there's more. And for those of y'all that are live, feel free to drop any of the other ones that you think are important. But yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I love it because I know if I was watching this as a pre-PT, I'd be like, wait, am I burnt out, or am I just being like, oh, I don't want to do it? Because I still struggle with that to this day. But that was perfect. That was perfect. I want to touch on career burnout for just a second. Then we'll let y'all enjoy your Thursday, or you can tune in on Instagram. But for career burnout, Joseph kind of touched on that in the beginning. Like, have you seen a PT 5 years out, 10 years out, so on and so forth, who didn't look like they were happy or something like that, right? We've all, at least I have. If you haven't experienced that, you're in a very fortunate situation. So if you have, why have they felt like that? Have you ever thought about that? Or have you just been like, oh, they're just like that, and it's just how it is? They might be like that because they haven't put themselves in a winning situation. So, and what I mean by this is, when you're a pre-PT, you have a reward. You have this big win. That win is changing your Instagram profile to SPT, or finally posting on Instagram and saying, I got in, or on Facebook. You're posting it. That's your win. Your acceptance layer. You have a win. In PT school, it's getting the test grade, it's passing the boards, it's graduating PT school. There's a win. But once you get out and you're finally in the workplace, yeah, you get your job and all that stuff. That's your win. But after that, what happens? And oftentimes that career burnout comes from, there's nothing else to do, and I'm just on this hamster wheel of there's nowhere else to go. And I'm seeing this many patients, or this little patients, or I'm not making as much as I want to, and the list goes on. And there's no winning situation. There's no reward. But the thing is, I think people get frustrated thinking that somebody else at that time should give them that reward or winning situation that they had in school. Because in school, they gave you that degree, they gave you that grade, they gave you that passing NPTE score. But once you're out now, it's all on you. They're not responsible for giving you a winning situation. They're not responsible for rewarding you. They're not responsible for making your career worth it for you. They're just like, all right, you wanted a job, we need your license, here it is, your reward is your paycheck. And after a while, you're like, man, I'm not getting any raises here because of how the system's set up, or I'm not getting any advancement, or I'm not liking where I'm at. The list goes on and on. But the only responsibility it falls on is you, because it's your career. And I think some people look to their company or whatever it is, saying, I need something else. Where is my winning situation? Where is my reward? When really, to avoid some career burnout in the future, is you make yourself an award. You put yourself in a winning situation. So for example, myself and Joseph, if we get better at pre-PT grind, we're constantly rewarding ourselves. we're putting ourselves in winning situations because we're in control of this. So if we're in the clinic or in a job situation in our PT careers, we don't feel like we're not in a winning situation. We can just go there, chill, be there, have a good time. We're not worried about, oh, what's going to happen next? Where's my career advancement and all that stuff, because we have a winning situation somewhere else. And we put ourselves there. So with your career, when you're thinking about this, because you're doing all this to be a PT, how can you possibly think of making yourself putting yourself in a winning situation? Maybe it is clinically. Maybe it is going into academia. Maybe it's opening your own practice or having something on the side, or just doing something non-PT related. Maybe you're like, okay, let me make myself a winning situation by saving up some money and putting it into a multifamily property so that can pay me and supplement my income. And now I have something else to reward me. Or whatever that is, I'm saving up to buy crypto, or I'm saving up to propose for my girlfriend, or whatever that is. Or maybe that's moving up the corporate ladder. I don't care what it is. As long as you make yourself actually enjoy what you're doing, actually take something from it, instead of what Joseph was saying, just constantly giving and giving out, you'll be in a much better situation than many other people you see. So I know you're a pre-PT right now, or maybe some SPTs are looking at this and watching this, but make sure, think about it, because it's going to happen. It's going to be there faster than you think. But just remember, the responsibility is nobody else's but yours. So think of that now. What's your winning situation going to be? So that's the only tidbit I want to throw on there for career burnout on top of everything.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Janet actually said, what about looking forward? What about looking towards helping a patient fully recover as a reward?
That can work too. Can work too. Whatever it is, I don't care if it's you get rewarded from the patients and seeing them hug you and cry and bring you treats. I don't care what it is. Just make sure that you're getting fulfilled from it. Because if you're not, then it feels like you're not making any progress. You're not going anywhere in your career. You're not getting anything from it. There's no reward. So it just constantly feels like you're doing all of this for nothing. Just kind of think of it like you're just running for no reason. You're just running on a treadmill, or you're just running a marathon that has no end. That's what it might feel like if you get to that situation. And we don't want that to be you. So yeah, I love that as well. So that's pretty much it.
Well, I love it. For those of y'all that are live, was tonight's conversation helpful? For those of y'all that said that you're either feeling burnt out or have struggled with burnout, or you're afraid of burnout kind of affecting what you do as a student, maybe even your future as a physical therapist, or just in your life, like, was tonight's conversation helpful? Let me know in the comments. And as you guys are commenting that, listen, y'all, we got an amazing training for those of y'all that are feeling overwhelmed, stuck, not sure how to navigate through your PT school application process and really how to stand out for real. We're going to show you what we've shown our students. So all the students that we've been bringing on for live interviews, our accepted system coaching students, we're going to teach you what they do differently, and how you too can be in control of your application this year. And we're going to do that through a 1.5 hour live free training. And you can get access to it at can someone put this in the comments for me? www.leveluptheprept.com. It's on April 11th. You just go, like, you actually have to save your seat. It won't be on Facebook. It won't be on Instagram. So go save your seat for it. Make sure that you're good to go. And then we will see you for that training. Y'all, seats are filling up. I think we're at close to 500 students that have registered already. So go save your seat and we'll see you there. If you're serious about taking control of not just your anxiety and overwhelm and burnout, but every other aspect of your application, so that we can see you on the other side as a PT student and future physical therapist. So we will see y'all there. Have an amazing rest of your evening. Everyone said yes, definitely made me realize I'm not the only one in that situation. Yes, thank you. I love it. Y'all have an amazing one. See y'all later. Bye.